standard, I think an Ezreal and a Varus ban is very, very good. And with Cassio, I have to imagine that Ryze is going to just jump up in priority immediately.
But of course, it's open. Tarzan's going to pounce. We're getting another Tarzan and Naafiri performance as we continue to talk about the MVP-like form. The King of the Jungle is in here. It makes a ton of sense. You brought up the Ryze. I do find it interesting. I guess I don't have the exact stats in front of me, but I know a lot of people, some of the chatters were talking about the Ryze win rate in this meta, and so far the split isn't necessarily at the highest mark that people would expect with a champion of this pedigree. So that'll be interesting to see. But Karis, of course, very, very capable in his current form of piloting this champion. Right now at the gate, Team WE, they're playing the map game, right? They're playing the global pressure game, Dimitri. We've got Grand Starfall, we got Realm Warp. So AL are going to have to be very conscious of every play they make once those ultimates come online, because just like that, Team WE can have 2 extra members for any of these early plays that AL have been so successful in garnering early gold leads and never looking back on, especially with a snowbally champion like this Naafiri.
Yeah, I think Pantheon, especially for Monki, just letting him like cheat the game, cheat the tempo in the game, just saying, hey, look, we're making a play on one side, and then suddenly the Pantheon ult, or he recalls, boom, he's suddenly in your lane in one of these side lanes. Very important. Like the Shenna's response, even if you're not going to be picking your bot lane here, just allowing for even more carry potential. If Tarzan's ever in danger, which, let's be honest, as a Naafiri, you're almost never in danger. You just press W and suddenly you're out of the game. That with Shen just makes him so impossible to deal with. I think supports are going to be a little pinched here, Slayer, because you look at what's happening and it's Ziggs Shen, so you're typically not going to be able to win a ton of 2v2s. You can try to move into things like Nautilus, but Nautilus versus Naafiri plus Shen feels super miserable. So it's likely that we're probably not going to get a super lane-focused bot lane pair from WE. It seems like that's going to be the case here with Jhin being picked up.
So now I kind of want to start thinking about, you already mentioned the support pool being kind of pinched, especially in the frame of the identity we've had with a lot of our supports here, especially Erha and Kael, of the get out of lane, try and roam, impact with your junglers. Trying to think about which of these supports kind of fit into that mantra. Obviously, a lot of your engaged supports can kind of work playing that style, but they aren't as great as like the Shen that we're likely going to see go into Kael's hands, or like the Camille, even like stuff like the Poppy that can really roam and impact early. All those are off the board here. And AL smartly are going to start taking away even more of those champions that can have that impact early on, don't need high levels to make plays. Dredge line on the Nautilus makes a ton of sense. Do you kind of feel like we might just see 2 support bans for AL to really try and pinch Erha's pool here?
I think so. I think you're but all of them are fine into Shen, right? Like if you want to play Rel, then you can just Shadow Dash and suddenly that's not playable anymore. Alistar's likely the best look, so if AL are really worried about that, you can also just look at top lane. They go ahead and they send the ban over to the Rumble. Just want to get rid of range. I think that AL are very slippery. I think a thing that maybe I would prescribe to their team is that they don't have the best lockdown right now, so they're going to need some lanes that are going to open up potential on the map. I know we're going to see Alistar, or we could see Alistar. I actually think Melio has a lot of value in this game. We'll see if it ends up happening. It is a champion that technically can get ran down by Naafiri, but I just think that Super Mega Fire Kick and the ultimate, the shields, everything is just really, really OP for Jhin and the rest of the team.
But we're going to get a bit of a rarity here for Erha, at least in this split. Going to bring out the Nico here to be that catalyst, to be that sort of team fight starter with this Pop Blossom. An interesting little read here for Team WE to try and bring, like you're talking about with AL, a really big, they have a lot of go buttons clearly now between their jungle and support like we talked about. So we're going to see the Olaf be locked here as an answer, I assume, to that Nico ultimate, the Pantheon. But this does feel like an interesting place to go for the Olaf. Obvious value into the Nico, but I don't know. It's going to be hard to like run down a Jhin. I guess Ryze is a good target for it, but also blinding this into Cube is pretty bold of Breathe, nonetheless.
Hey, we said we wanted. What was the counter pick going to be for? Was it going to be for a solo lane? And it seems like that's the case. They're giving Cube full range of what he wants to play in top lane. It's going to be Mundo.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Should be able to poke the Olaf out, but similarly, I think that right now AL are playing a composition that is extremely burst reliant. Ahri, Ziggs, poking your opponents out, Nefiri plus Shen and Olaf. I think if WE are able to survive the early game, this is a very, very good composition. The one caveat I will give is that any of these members, if Karis is behind the 8-ball, if Jhin is behind or is going like Yomu's plus RFC, they will never kill anybody on this AL team. You are going to be able to scale if you can hit 3 items. I mean, 3-item level 16 Mundo is near unkillable in this kind of game. But you will lack damage if you cannot win or if you cannot sustain early. So WE, the Pantheon needs to be really impactful, and that's kind of the moniker that Monki lives by.
Without a doubt, it'll be very intriguing to see Team WE try and play a scale game, knowing how much just raw chaos they love to create in that early phase to try and snowball leads home. That, of course, is the classic AL game plan on the other side, knowing that Tarzan is on this Nefiri, so we expect him to be looking eager to try and get that ball rolling. We are soon to kick off Game 1, Anyone's Legend taking on Team WE. This is, of course, we've stated a little bit, but if you missed it, the final game of the first half of this regular season, the first half of Split 3 for these two teams. For Team WE, 5-2 series score would really cement them as one of those bona fide top 4 squads, but AL looking to be right on the heels of BLG with a series win of their own as we hit the Rift. Loud and proud. Yeah, and we're already getting the early invades after the party Gyos. It's going to be Tarzan and, of course, Kael, as we expected. It's going to be the 280 carries dueling in the bot side, but Hope is going to have to pay for the sins of his jungler and be forced off this wave by Erha and About. Does, of course, mean we're getting vertical jungle looks here, and I wonder how much of that game plan for Tarzan was to try and make sure this Olaf could get out and running, because like you talked about, I think this Mundo pick, if left undisturbed, will be such a big problem for AL later on.
I just don't think you're ganking, but like, what is Shen supposed to do into Mundo? Mundo just has the canister, and then you're done. This is really cheeky. Kael already took one of the Raptors. It's not likely going to change very much, but I mean, Hope is getting solo experience. They brought over Erha for this, so I mean, it's just vision at the time being. Tarzan's going to be able to recall. He'll be able to pick up a longsword most likely. And I think this is a pretty big advantage now being grown here for Team WE. Not only are you preventing the Shen who started the Shadow Dash, but he's actually coming to kind of fight them now. They're not even going to try to fight. They're not even going to try to go for the other side of the jungle.
And Tarzan going to race in with that longsword purchase. About trying to move over to support his team. He's going to take a recall and a very aggressive rush. Kael looking. Not going to get the flash Shadow Dash for the taunt here. Still, of course, level 1. And Karis is now going to join the fray. This is classic LPL. Not even level 3 on our junglers. Just now, Monki will get it and secure that red buff. And wow, it's a rare time where we don't see a complete flip of an LPL game at that first spawn of the red buff. Unless Tarzan looks to continue this chase with Kael, but AL seemed pretty respective, kind of more of a herding strategy, just pushing WE away from their jungle. Now maybe Tarzan looking to chase. There's the flash Shadow Dash onto 2. It is flawless from Kael. And just like that, Tarzan is off and running on his Nefiri. The satchel onto Erha to flick him back into the team is going to force Tarzan to flash forward. And Erha is now mincemeat to the Houndstone. It's Tarzan. Exactly as we expected. He's 2-0 out the gate.
Well, if they don't find that kill or these kills here, it is completely a nightmare scenario for Tarzan matching that. But trusting in the vision, abusing a level 1 Shen to get a flash Shadow Taunt onto 2 members of WE. Big mistake for them to be able to taunt there or sitting on top of each other. Now the cleanse as well from About.
All right, Tarzan still hasn't spent a lot of that gold he picked up here, but he does pick up the Scuttle Crab away from Monki. Kael's still level 1, by the way, but still willing to scrap alongside his jungler as Shanks has the first move, and Monki is once again caught way too far forward, has to flash away from Tarzan, who is just pushing his presence into this game 1 second by second.
Ooh, that is really wonky, but now he gets to take Respawn Raptor. We haven't even done our top side, and Tarzan is going to be sitting at a 1,000 gold lead. We are 4 minutes in. He already has a 200 gold bounty, and there's nothing they can do on the opposite sides. It's Mundo top lane, so are we going to be able to camp this? I like this for Breathe. You can just run him down, no flash.
Yep, just walking him on down, and there's nothing for Cube to do. Blinds the Olaf, dares Breathe to shut him down. But Cube will fall nonetheless. What a start for AL.
Everything wrong that could potentially go wrong for WE is happening, and exactly what we wanted to see early from AL. If they can get the ball rolling early, the game is just so easy to play. I like how they abuse the early priority of the Ahri versus the Ryze to get him into that play around for Tarzan in the blue buff earlier, and now you're sitting at 2,000 gold lead.
We didn't count our minions, my friend. All right, he'll be fine, but important to remember, you know, that the old Nico tricks still work to the best of the best.
Every single wave, there's always a Nico. That's the worst part about Nico and all these champs that go into Fog of War or disappear. Every single lane, you have to be worried, is there another minion? Is there another person here? Tarzan, they're even right now. It is Brutalizer to double longsword, but these are just not good conditions for AL's laners.
Nope. So they're going to respect Monki's aggressive push. See if Kael can maybe steal away this big chicken. They get down to 2 HP before Monki secured that one. Will be able to get himself out of there, and Tarzan will just look towards his top side. We do have the first dragon of the game up on the rift here now, Dimitri, so we'll see exactly how these two teams decide to focus in onto that part of the map here, as we already see Monki in the area.
This is a level 1 blue buff at 6 minutes. It's only going to die now. Is it going to die in time? Oh, he's doing the leash. Okay, he's going to get double darken daggers. He'll take it down. It's level 1. Catch-up experience is going to feel really nice afterwards, but stealing Respawn Raptors, great job. Really big. I wonder when Tarzan is actually going to complete his first item now, because he's going to have... he might have his first item at 8 minutes, and usually we might say that's accelerated for solo lanes. For junglers, that is near unheard of.
Near unheard of indeed. Tarzan just kind of does near unheard of things in this split 3 by this point. And we'll see if he once again tries to ruin Monkey's clear. Yep, these are my Raptors now, my friend. Gonna smite away the big chicken once more. And I think we've just accepted that Monkey's Raptors are Tarzan's and Tarzan's Raptors are Monkeys. It's just a classic here. But AL, like you mentioned, are up that 2,000 gold and are going to get to that point where grubs are going to be up pretty shortly here. We even have Breathe starting to steal away camps. I would assume, Ulk, that AL definitely want to try and play more for those grubs, especially knowing how Breathe has been able to take a stranglehold on this top lane matchup.
It's just like, what? If WE were to get grubs, how would we even talk about it? Because they don't really have the ability to play sides. Like, we came into this with this draft thinking, okay, Ryze, Pantheon, play to side lanes, play to be able to move early, but with the early game that's happened, and I think especially with the draft that they've gone for, what are the volatile side lanes that we're playing as WE? Are we going to go for Jin Nico, that is probably the most enticing? Diving in Olaf is great, but there's the likelihood he's able to turn it around and at least get 1 kill early. So now with the gold lead, it almost feels like all of the game plans WE could have gone for are just not possible at this time. And it just is going to get harder. It'll be a while before Kael has ultimate, but by the time that happens, WE might say, oh, hey, look, we're 1 item now. Do we go for something? They have Shen ultimate too, so maybe we don't look for it. It's that hesitation that's going to kill a lot of the game for WE.
It's such a weird spot to be in, knowing that they're also the comp in this game 1 that a lot of pieces would enjoy valuable time, especially these solo lanes, being able to try and scale. Or they might just make this catch on to Kael. It's a great flash forward from Erha to get that Tangle Barb down, but Kael's able to flash out and breathe in the middle of all, with Tarzan joining the fray. Is going to be able to chase down Monki over the wall, gets the first kill. Rune Prince is going to land on top of Breathe. He will go down, and now Tarzan's caught too far forward. AL not on the same page, and WE able to pounce as strong in their 4-stack numbers. Karis picks up a double, and WE arrive to our series.
That is a huge win. If AO are able to get grubs and have Ziggs just pushing away on this bottom lane, that could have been a big win. Hope still had TP. I wonder what the call was in the team comms. That could have been a massive win here for AL. And we look back.
Very funny that we're just talking about how valuable time is for the scaling of a Rise, the scaling of a Mundo for Cube, and like you mentioned, they're the two that split those 3 coveted kills. Karis with that row is just so important here. Do see that Tarzan will be able to pick up all 3 of those grubs, but definitely a bit of an uppercut to the AL rapid start that they got. Got to make sure. Really just these fight lines are a lot more succinct between the 2 squads. Never going to be a good idea for a comp like this for AL to see your Olaf running after one target that your Nefiri is also not going after. It's kind of the entire point here is that this top side for AL is diving and looking to burst that same first person to get the resets on the Spirit Rush, to get the resets for this Nefiri, keep the Ragnarok going.
Ooh, the Rune Prison. Okay, so Shanks just loses half his HP. Yeah, and it's only going to get harder, right? Like, the burst potential from AL is going to get worse and worse as people complete items. Just look at Cube. Triple Giant Spell. What are you supposed to do in this situation?
Ooh, good flash from Hope. That Deadly Flourish goes down, he definitely drops. Flash going to be off of Hope. Nonetheless, good summoner to pick up. We still have this first dragon of the game up and available. It's Tarzan that's going to start it up here now, knowing that Monki's without ult, about just used his as well, so feeling like this is a window for him to secure both of the first 2 early objectives towards the Pandas.
And Slayer, it's happening before my eyes. I'm in deep pain. Not just because our third series started at basically 7 a.m., but I am seeing a Serrated Dirk and a Rectrix in the inventory of this Jhin. We haven't been snowballing. He's got 3 assists, so he's basically down 1,000 gold, and they get the turret as well. AL will continue to have a gold lead, and they get the first dragon, and Ziggs has completed the bot lane role quest, so just more gold in his back pocket. If they find another team fight and he gets a bunch of kills or a bunch of assists, I mean, AL can just start to run away with this gold lead. I'm not worried yet, but I'm starting to feel the chills.
Yeah, you can the hairs standing up on the back of your arms by this point, and I too share with you our disappointment in this route from about. But at the end of the day, if he can hit these deadly flourishes, find these clutch snares, rise at Pantheon, maybe he can be able to do some of the heavy lifting in the damage department for now. But AL have found a pretty good way to stabilize what was a complete rout of gold. They were up basically 2,000 early on. They've been able to recover that very well, like you mentioned, because of the Ziggs. So now we can look forward to that Herald in about 2.5 minutes. We start to get the more normal mid-game lane assignments. You talked about it, though. The ultimates coming online for these supports is going to be a big thing, and I just spotted Kael finally ticked over to level 6, so that's Stand United an extra bit of pressure alleviation available for AL going forward now.
Yeah, Shanks won't have teleport for this play, so what are we doing to set this up as WE? We're never going to be able to win side lanes all that often, just by nature of how they go. We'll likely go even. Now that Karis does have Rod of Ages and the Merc Treads, maybe it's more playable now. Now your ability to actually stand in front of the Aura and get damage and clear the wave is a little more playable, but it's just how are we looking to kind of move around and get our vision on, because it's going to be really tough to get deep vision versus a Ziggs, versus a Nefiri who is just so mobile, and then Shen to back it up just makes it really, really unfun.
Yeah, totally unfun for W to try and navigate around. But we are still waiting to see them, find these successful big ultimates that they drafted for. Monki, of course, that first Grand Starfall did net that flash off of Hope, but it is 75% of the way back up and should be nearly back up by the time we get to that Herald if there is a fight. Still looking for Erha and maybe a big Pop Blossom, so there are still those catch tools there for Team WE. It's just, like you mentioned, how much harder it is to kind of set up for those angles and actually convert these kills over with the way AL are positioned. Speaking on that positioning, though, Team WE are definitely investing a lot of their vision on this top river early, so it'll be a bit tougher for AL to walk their way towards this Herald in about 50 seconds.
They are sniffing. They were waiting. They're saying, okay, it's a minute before the Herald. If we find a kill now, maybe we don't have to play for it. Maybe we just play to the other side of the map, blow up a turret, and look to do a little bit of fancy footwork there. But they don't find anything. Kael and AL are now going to move into the top side of the map and start to clear out all of these wards. And everybody's got an item except for Erha. Looks like we're making a play on a Kael.
Yeah, he's going to Shadow Dash, create some distance. Does get hit by the stun. No Deadly Plurus to land. Pop Blossom going to be flashed out of by Kael. Mega Inferno Bomb looks for the turn. They do get, of course, another coveted flash, but that's really just not good enough right now for the combo of ultimates you just expended.
That is in a master class or a disaster class in sequencing. If they get that, oh, this is the Shen ult.
United offensive Shen alongside Tarzan. About immediately has to flash over the wall, but here's Shanks to follow. A flash and a dash, and About is done for. A very errant flash from Monki to try and at least straight Kael. Falls flat, and Karis now has the Realm Warp up, but he has to use it to get away from the Mad Nefiri, but all he finds is an Olaf waiting for him. He's able to run away from Breeze with the help of the Ghost, but it's still a disaster for Team WE in their own jungle.
And there's just so many small moments there. Just Tarzan going forward with the Shen ultimate. You get the flash out from About, you get the flash from Monki, and then this Realm Warp from Karis. Maybe he thinks they're going to try and dive me. It's Ari with 2 charges of her Spirit Charge. So hey, maybe I have to get out of this. At the back end of this play, Cube teleports to the mid lane turret and then does nothing. We lost so much here from WE. AL just get to barrel their way through the jungle. And because of the fact that they used 3 ultimates to try to kill Kael prior to this play, it just feels like we over-indexed. We tried to sunk cost our way through this fight and completely get trampled over by AL.
But hey, at least Monki secured those stolen Raptors again.
True.
This FWE positioned pretty well to go for this next dragon, but they're seeing the flip side traded for AL. They don't really care about giving away their first dragon in the game. I don't think solo is that much of a priority in a game like this, so they're just trying to compound on their gold interests, and you're seeing that in droves. Shelly going to crash in the mid lane tier 1 turret to knock it down to about 2 plates, and Breathe is the big winner here with the dragon secured for Team WE. He picks up an entire turret by himself in the top side.
We need to be very careful if you are Team WE, because we talked about, hey, can we play to side lanes? That has really not materialized so far in this game. And because of the way that our draft kind of fell out, we need to be a team fighting composition. That is just not coming true right now. And I look at Tarzan now being almost 2 levels up on Monki. He has 2,500 gold. That is a Black Cleaver 2-item jungler at 17 minutes. You press tab as Team WE say, well, when are we fighting? Because we're not really going to be able to catch back. And maybe the biggest travesty of them all here, Slayer, is the fact that Tarzan doesn't have a bounty on his head. How are we up to 3,000 gold as a team? And I am 90% of that lead, and I don't have a bounty on my head. I'm ringing Drew Levin right now.
Yeah, I need the math to see why this has happened. Of course, Tarzan did already lose that shutdown earlier, but I don't really feel like that should matter a lot. We'll see if he can pick up a bounty off another big fight win, as we do reach a bit of a lull state, but I think it's once again to AL's benefit. They have the Stand United coming off a cooldown for Kael, and they're just looking to play hard on these side lanes and see if they can punish anyone from Team WE trying to answer into this Ahri, into this Olaf.
Something that could be a play for Team WE is the fact that because these lanes are shoved out, there's not really anything for AL to do. Maybe they find Shanks?
Oh, maybe they make this pick onto Shanks happen with the curtain call. Should be able to get this kill over, so that's a big pick to find.
I mean, it's a kill, but are they going to be able to do anything mid? Because Kael, Hope, and Tarzan can just sit here. It's a plate for Karis. I still look at these side lanes, and AL are feeling super comfortable. It sucks to give up that kill, but again, I maybe was thinking about it as a negative for AL because the side lanes are so pushed out that you're not really able to create any opportunities. AL, or WE, if they wanted to, they could just freeze these lanes. Oh, Erha.
Yeah, Erha not in the right place at the right time. One kill is going to be picked up as they try and look for a turn here onto Monki, onto Tarzan. They're able to pick him off. Shanks is going to try and fly over the wall to get something back here. And it is going to be Breathe is able to clean up a couple of these kills. It's good to see the AL are able to still win some of these skirmishes with Tarzan not playing a big factor.
Two for 3, and you've got Ziggs. You've got 3 grubs. That's a free turret going over to AL. Just more gold. This is the problem with giving over 3 grubs to a Ziggs team is they get to essentially skip a lot of important timers in the game or come to 3rd and 4th dragon with an item up. I thought this was a very bad play for WE. I mean, when you're playing a non-tank support, you just can't walk up without vision. You can't walk up with some of your other teammates. Erha gets punished there. And then the AL, they use a lot to make this play happen. That was a teleport coming in from Shanks. So trying to make this happen, they get a lot of flashes and I think a lot of important kills here to continue their gold lead.
Still over the 3,000 mark. And they'll have a dragon to play for here in about a minute's time as they continue to try and look to push this lead further. Tarzan definitely not going to have to worry about any bounties now after that last death, but he still continues to hunt for any of these stragglers for Team W who are trying to move on their own. And always a good window to look for this when you still know that Monki doesn't yet have that Grand Starfall. Breeze is going to take it in hands. Blast going to get behind a bout here, but he's going to let him use that Yomu speed up to run away from Breeze. Just threatening about, but doesn't actually have to burn either summoner at the end of the day.
He's going for Stormrazor 3rd, so he'll have a lot of movement speed available to him, but only 50% crit and not a lot of attack damage available as a stat. So AL 3,000 gold, it feels comfortable. We're starting to get bound. How is Hope the one with the bound? Whatever, man, I don't understand the system. There's a reason why they never lift the hood on these things, but Baron is up. I don't think you have the most damage as Team WE. AL, I think, just maybe feeling a little pressure. W want to make something happen with this Jhin.
Oh, it's going to Smite win on to the Scuttle Crab as Kael goes in with the Shadow Dash. Charm is going to land on the Monki, but Karis off to the side, able to blow up Kael. And AL still not without their Olaf moving forward. It's instead Tarzan with the Grand Starfall. Make sure that the Hound's Pursuit does not follow through. And Monki with a little trickery with the Pantheon ultimate is able to make sure AL can't collect any kills back.
Now that is a cheeky bit of sequencing there. AL, only a single kill go over. Still might just be them going for the dragon. It doesn't matter that their support died. They have position on this objective. And Tarzan, he's so far ahead, he just looks at Monki taking a recall and goes, thank you, buddy. Take your blue buff, and maybe we go for the dragon afterwards. I like this from Karis, though. Trap Ahri underneath her turret. Make it so she can't join, even with the TP coming off of cooldown. Force her to either give up this turret or make this play happen in top lane.
Maybe the play is actually going to be around the Drake pit here. As Monki and Erha arrive on the scene. That Pop Blossom is still up and available. Like you called out, Shanks completely jailed. Neither of the mid laners is going to really be able to move over a Realm Warp. Could get Karis close enough, but his Breeze is looking for the break with the Blast Cone. Gonna pop the Ragnarok. Inferno Bomb comes over across. Erha is gonna be the first casualty as Kael arrives to the fray with that Stand United. It's a flash away from Cube, but Monki is gonna be the true target. Tarzan looking to chase, gonna hop over the wall, and there's no Grand Starfall to stop Monki from dying to AL again. Somehow Shanks is the first one to move over with his TP, and AL are able to find a fight win as 5 and set their sights on the Baron.
It's the big purple worm going to be taken. Can WE make any answers? Karis, that was your timer to go for a recall, buddy. Looks like you're going to use the Realm Warp to escape this one after all. No Baron. They're going to go for another kill. WE are hitting this mid-tier one.
Shadow Dash onto land into the Charm. Karis going to channel the Realm Warp now. His
Sarah
Shield gives him just enough space to get out. And AL get too greedy. Looking for that kill onto Karis. Going to cost them a Baron play. And now maybe even their AD carries live. Hope, though, with the Satchel Charge, is able to create just enough distance away from Cube. We'll see if he's able to clear out this wave. It shouldn't be that tier 1 turret falling just yet for Team WE. And nope, I spoke too soon.
Demolish.
Cube just knocks that thing down with the Demolish, and somehow Team WE end up with the more positive gold swing at the very end there.
Yeah, I get the look there from AL, but you really should have just committed to going for this seems like at the very end, an objective is still going to go over. AL are still going to get access to this dragon. Karis doesn't have his Sarah shield. He's going to return back to the scene of the crime of top lane. I was really excited, Slayer, because I thought, oh, maybe there's an angle for WE to contest for this dragon and maybe we get a much more even game. But because of how long it took them to go for this Rise, it's just another part of the draft that we talked about. These solo lanes for WE are so tanky that mages like the Ahri and the Ziggs really can't burst them out in a timely manner anyway, especially when I look at upgraded Chain Crushers.
Yeah, and the Actualizer is now going to come through for Karis, so we're level 16, 3 items on the Rise, exactly where Team W wanted this pick to be. Can't imagine Cube is far behind the 8 ball in that category, especially if he can just break down this bot tier 1 turret. So for all the early woes that Team W put themselves in the hole with up against Tarzan Stafiri, we're starting to get to that point where the takiness you mentioned of the Mundo, the scale threat of this Rise, is prevalent in this game.
Yeah, he's a level 16 Mundo and level 16 Rise. So things are getting very, very scary here for AL. And they only have a 2,000 gold lead. They only have 2 dragons. That first dragon being delayed for so long might have actually bitten AL in the backside. So AL need to keep pressuring this game. They need to be able to continue sieging turrets, and that's not even to mention the fact that they still need to get into the base right now. WE are holding on, and not only are you now looking at Karis, I'm starting to look at About, who's getting to that 4th item. That could get into maybe unplayable territory.
It's looking like with that longsword, I assume it's going to be the LDR there coming through for About. So we'll get him over towards that massive crit chance multiplier when he can put that item together. But look at this flank that Tarzan has. About going to pop the Yomus. Inferno Bomb coming down early just for some chunk damage. Kael going to miss the Shadow Dash. About still cleanses it the same. Charm going to land on the Monki. About's able to walk on out. Aegis Assault being thrown up there so Monki can get out. But Tarzan still looking to chase here. Pick off some of these stragglers. But Team WE continue to refuse to give this AL team any opening.
An expensive trade. Double summoner spells there. The Ori Ultimate with Malignance plus Rocket Belt is basically a 45-second cooldown. You're going to get that back. The Cleanse, that's not going to be so lucky. You are going to wish that you had that. And small timings there, but getting that before the dragon that spawns in 2 minutes, and if they win a big team fight, they could just look towards Baron. AL are trying to force the issue, but as long as these waves are on the opposite side, they're on WE side of the map, it gets harder and harder to fish. We keep coming back to this because it is going to be more and more relevant as this game goes on.
Now with all these other ultimates up and available, even if you do try and look to make that side lane play onto, it's not going to be cute, guys. It's going to be Karis. Monki, a Monki can pop up out of anywhere with that Grand Starfall to try and keep his mid laner alive or even look to make a turn. Definitely a weird spot for AL to be in. They've had this gold lead virtually the entire game with the start that Tarzan had, and of course he's still nearly 3k up, but it does feel like the pendulum is swinging more and more into the scaled threat of Team WE. And Tarzan knows it. That's why he's looking for a sneaky Baron call by himself virtually.
And Mundo's going to walk, but they don't know this is happening whatsoever. There's pings on opposite sides of the map. Oh, wait a minute. That ward, it's spotted. They know this is happening. Can they get here in time? Rise can run warp them over. Olaf and Ziggs are still mid.
Tarzan desperately trying to get out. He gets away from Flores. The Pop Blossom will find and claim him though in the Root Prison. Locks down Tarzan, and he is done for. Kael gonna have to flash out as it's Shanks and Breather trying to do the heavy lifting on the back end of this fight, but they can't get onto About. Shanks whiffs the charm. About lands the flash, and Cube is gonna walk down Shanks. Gets one Spirit Rush charge back over the wall, but look at Cube. This Giga Tank will not be denied. Team WE pounce on Tarzan and ace the Pandas home.
He did not do his homework. That one ward sitting in the back of the pit for Team WE might have just saved this game and given them a Game 1 win here. Karis way too tanky with these Chain Crushers and the Seraphs, which, by the way, Seraphs is still alive. It's likely going to get procced here by the Baron. We'll look back at this fight again. That ward is so crucial Tarzan trying to get out, and if he had gotten caught earlier, we would have been saying this is more and more of a WE fight, but this 2-man knockup with the ultimate from Erha and the damage from About and Rise. Just look at Karis just running down the back line of Team WE. And Shanks on the other side of this fight, by the way, didn't land the charm onto a relevant member. It didn't matter that About didn't have his cleanse, because the charm never ended up landing. These are the small moments from AL where we talk about the mechanics of some of these laners that end up backfiring and might have now given WE the ability to win this game.
They still need a lot of clawing back in stuff like the dragon stacking. Of course, they only have one Drake 29.5 minutes into this game, but should be able to pick up the second one, even up the count with relative ease. Don't know if Tarzan can really justify trying to force this fight. He's starting to learn the hard way how much it's going to take to even get through Cube alone. Inferno Bomb fishing for a steal that will never happen. And Team WE can mosey on forward as 5. And there's not much AL can punish on the cross map.
We are going to look back at that Rise chase top lane when they could have gone Baron and say that might have been the inflection point. That could have been a point where they were able to use the Baron and move out, but looking for a pick on a Monki or Erha. Shanks has a massive flank if they can find it. Cube's going to show on this top wave. This needs to be a go button here for AL. WE aren't giving it to them. They're jumping right into their fog of war and preventing them from getting anything.
Kael's on a
This is cheeky,
Root
man.
Prism, Deadly Flourish, Lockdown, Supreme, Kael style, and the crit shot from About will make it a kill. Another inflection point, Ulk, where Vision is betraying AL.
Just want to remind everybody, by the way, that even, the hype of Split 2, WE coming into Split 3 have yet to win a single game versus the top 3 teams here. A 0-2 versus Top Esports, a 0-2 versus BLG earlier last week. This could be them finding a win. With AL sitting at 2nd place right now at 5-1, this could be the point where we actually see them finally take a win against a top 3 team in Split 3.
Oh boy, here we go. Does Tarzan really want this? Nope. It's just the threat of the Mundo. You really can't afford to chase him down, and Erha as a minion has caught Hope lacking again. Satchel charge creates some distance. The nice shadow dash to taunt out Monki, and the Q isn't going to land. Angel Soul has to come up as Tarzan pounces on top of Monki, and here comes Shanks off to the side, but the Rune Prison locks him in place. There's the reset in the House Pursuit. Tarzan's able to find another kill, but Karis with the Seraph Shield goes into the stasis, but he's surrounded by AL. Sure, they can't kill off Cube, but they'll just eliminate all of the damage around him. And now he's going to have to do the damage. Oh my god, that hard steel proc nearly kills off Tarzan on his own. Breeze standing in the fray. 4 members of AL funneling all their damage into Cube, but he just is immortal. He's healing through it all, and he's turning right back on to Tarzan. Cube stands tall up against 4 pandas and survives to tell the tale.
Now that is a maximum dosage of some good old LPL team fighting, baby. That's a Giga Tank in the top lane. 400 heart steel procs right now, and he is just living through all of it. Cube with this R5 Mundo. This is making it look easy. It is business as usual. And it's only going to get worse from here, Slayer. We've got Chemtech Dragon out on the map. More Chemtech Souls means that he's just going to get more and more durable, more heal cut, and who's going to get it? It seems like Hope already is sitting on that Oblivion Orb right now, but you do not have the consistent damage of a marksman to get through these tanks. Massive find from Erha as they blow up the rest of this team. This is where it gets dicey. You are now way too far up. The damage that WE have, it's in Karis, but they can't step up, and this TP from Shanks makes it so it's possible.
Breathe on the back line. He's quietly had this gold lead the entire game, and I have to applaud his ability with these Chemtech. You mentioned the Chemtech Soul, Chemtech map. He's really used these blast stones creatively to get onto that back line. But here we go, Grand Starfall. They're going to go after Breathe. One warp down. They're trying to chase down the Mad Viking, but he's looking for the turn, and the taunt onto Karis is beautiful from Kael. Tarzan flies in the background and tries to go after About. Does cleanse out, finds some distance, and they're able to find the resets onto Erha. Just like that, AO get their miracle engage once more, and they want to try and fight the big tank again. Tarzan with the House Pursuit going to go forward, but it's Cube flashing away. Cube, no access to the maximum dosage, but the GA is going to come up, and he's able to use that ultimate. Now he's healing through it all. Tarzan going to res back up. Flandre trying to get these undertows to get the slows, but Cube is just so massive. He is not taking any damage. It's taking almost 30 seconds to get rid of this Mundo, but AL finally kill off the big tank.
There is the fight that they needed, and they kill Karis immediately. Great target selection coming in from AL, and just a very small moment of weakness from Team WE. AL are able to pounce on it. Imagine your Tarzan, by the way, in this game. You go up 1,000 gold 9 minutes into this game, and you almost lose this one. We get back into the replay for this. They're thinking, okay, we can make this pick on Debris. This is not the target you were looking for as Team WE. He's able to turn this around. This taunt from Kael is just so crisp, and Tarzan flies right into the backline. Able to find all of this damage. They don't kill about. That, I think, is what kind of stops Team from AL from being able to outright win this fight. But the time that it takes to get to Cube, it doesn't matter, because they have this Ahri, they have an Olaf, and they have an Nefiri to completely bypass the front line and go straight for the carries.
They have recognized that the game plan just has to be ignore Cube until there's no one left. There's no other option.
Tarzan, don't do
this. Monki, who does have his GA. He's going to go after a bout, though, to have to suit the taunt from Kael. Ring with the Stand United, but Tarzan's got to run away. Pop Blossom going to find one, but Breathe is just running amok in the backline again. And Karis can't seem to close that gap. Tarzan limit testing again, and it's going to end up being both supports dropping, but WE, they like their odds in the 4-on-4. They're on to the Baron.
I think WE could, or AL could have just gone for the mid waves and taken them with 3 grubs, but Baron, they're going to make him try to suffer for it. Maybe they get a steal on the backside. Maybe they chase them out here.
Turn call coming down as they do secure the Baron. Team WE looking to try and get some pot shots. Breathe is going to take up that 4th shot, but Shanks is waiting in the wings to see if anyone not named Cube walks into his crosshairs. And About gets right in front of him. The Q whiffs, though, and the Spear Rush charge does nothing. No charm to come out, and Shanks completely boosts a free kill. Tarzan on the back line, and Hope gets blown up by Karis. It's Breathe off to the side, trying to burn through Cube's health bar, but Monki with the GA will come back up, but Breathe doesn't care. Just gets rid of him with ease. It's Karis now trying to stand up to this Mad Olaf with the Seraph Shield. We'll give him just enough distance. Tarzan throws Cost to the wind, gets rid of a bout. Shanks finds that 1 kill, but it's immediately traded back out by Team WE, and holding Baron on 3. They're going to march down mid lane and steal this game 1.
There is no way that we see WE win, and look at how tanky these two guys are right now. We talked about Cube, we talked about Karis, who is just going on a rampage in this game. Game number 1 goes over to Team WE.
Shanks has to watch as such a beautiful early game start for anyone's legend crumbles behind the tankiest of Mundos. Erha picks up the final kill, and Team WE get their first win against the top 3 LPL opponent.
What a counter pick, man. R5 Mundo, we were worried that it wasn't going to come true. We were worried that he wasn't going to be able to do it. But he is the one that kind of holds this team together, and I don't want to take any credit away from his team. The rest of WE, they made it scrappy. It was not a clean game by any means, but man, Karis was smurfing on this rise.
It's such a positive sign, right? We talk so much endlessly about how this team drives through Monki for a lot of things. And even like when we do see Karis or About have big moments, we feel like maybe a lot of them have been facilitated by Monki. Dimitri, I don't know how you're feeling about the Monki performance, but I actually feel like this is a rare win for Team WE where they're kind of able to help lift up Monki, because this game was a disaster start for him. He, of course, had some big moments, but like you talked about, Team W solo lane's doing the biggest heavy lifting here, and that's what's most impressive to me.
Draft masterclass from Coach Jinjin. This guy, he came in clutch. He said, guys, as long as we do not lose the game at 15 minutes, we should be able to win. You guys will be able to kind of keep it down. I go back to this interview that Jinjin had after a regular season game. I think it was in Split 1, could have been in Split 2 this year, where his project for specifically year 2 of Team WE was to get Karis more in line with his team. He is the sole Korean player on this team, at least before About came on. Taeyun was there, but it was kind of hard to get him and Taeyun on the same line. And now that it feels like Karis feels more comfortable, he's more integrated with this team, it just feels like everything is starting to click into place at the right time. This is a very big win for them, being able to beat them. They did it in a best of 5 in Split 2, but it's the last split of the year, man. This is the time we want to start to see them, and it's, you know, the second, or getting into the second round robin. It's the final round what we'll see from them before that second round robin starts.
And what a spot it would be in too, to be 5-2 through that first round robin, thinking as well about, you know, those teams trying to challenge and catch up to Team WE. I know a lot of people are very iffy on teams like JDG, but you can't really discount them being able to put together a really solid second round robin, try and catch up to Team WE. As many series as they can distance themselves from that lower half is integral. And a game win like this, it's just such a, like you mentioned, a positive sign going into that second half of the split. As we get a look back at some of these stats, and honestly, they're quite hilarious. It looks like AL dominated the damage numbers, and it just doesn't matter.
I just look at the numbers between Tarzan and Breathe, and I'm like, how did we not win this game? It's okay to farm damage numbers versus a Mundo, but dude, this is disappointing. I don't even know really. I'm sure people in chat are going to be able to point fingers and be like, man, Shanks, where were you, brother? Or, man, Hope, where were you in this game? But just a lot of fights that are really hard. This is a draft that is hard to play, and it requires for them to be able to generate massive leads early. A rare loss for Tarzan on Nefiri. He's 4-1 on this champion before this, now 4-2. He's been the best player on Nefiri so far this split, but is a tough draft to kind of get if you're not already like slamming the game even harder. And there were a lot of critical errors. Again, we go back to the Rise chase in top lane. Was that necessary? Even if we got the kill, was that really the play that we wanted to go for? I feel like Baron helps us accelerate the game more meaningfully.
Yeah, and then you go back to, like, you know, some of these vision toggles. Like, obviously, this rush from Tarzan expects he's not on any vision. It's a sneak, and W able to pounce on him for that. This was, yeah, you talk about the decision-making errors that costed AL was maybe that chase down, but this was the big moment we felt like, Dimitri, where WE, this was their game to lose, being able to just dominate this fight and see exactly what we outlined from draft, right? This giant, immovable Hulk of Cube, unkillable, and like you talked about, Karis able to get such valuable kills here. And, well, the Team WE faithful, the few that are in the audience, are fired up after that Game 1 win.
And again, WE did such a good job of not only moving in the mid game, but then just having really great team fights that were, I will say, mostly off the back of some mistakes coming in from AL. That RA game from Shanks, so many mischarms, so many important ones that you need to land on critical targets, and that just doesn't happen. Like, there's 2 fights here, actually, where AL have lost around this specific part of the map, this blue buff on their side of the map. They're just split, and we're not going for the same target. This is effectively like a shotgun comp from AL. You just completely destroy anybody who walks into one part of the zone, you dash past all of this front line, and make it so Mundo never gets to play frontline versus his team. And that just never became a reality because you don't have a consistent DPS coming in from a marksman, and the skill shots that were thrown just weren't hitting targets in an effective manner.
It is, you know, you mentioned how it's kind of an unfortunate game here for Tarzan with the lead that he's able to accrue. We also came into this, you know, series talking about Breathe, right? We wanted to see more from him, dominate a lane. He was up like 3,500 gold over this Mundo at points and was actually a huge player in those team fights. And we felt like the Olaf angle was a bit hard to make work, but he actually was able to find some really good flanks. So it's really weird to be like, this is an AL loss. Well, you were like, it's an AL loss on Tarzan Nefiri, and then it's probably like Breeze's best individual game, and he also finds this loss. Just kind of a very weird one for AL, and like we talked about, a spot they've rarely found themselves in this split. You knew it was going to go to Cube. Come on, guys. You see that, Mundo? Yeah.
If we are ethically voting, it's probably going to Rise, but I get it. He had a lot of funny moments. He had a lot of really cool moments. I also think by the end of the game, he almost had like 900 Heartsteel stacks. Yeah. So I get it. This is, you know, the for fun vote. I'm not gonna like really harsh on it too much. I think it's fine. Just Karis probably deserved this one because of the way he did. Damage taken to gold ratio is definitely a stat of all time.
Yeah, that's a stat where you're like, I didn't know that one existed until this moment, at least for me. Like 600. I think they just saw the percentage number, Dimitri, and they're like, we got to throw this on the graphic. It's 606%.
Bump it up right now.
Yep, throw it up on there. Well, what a start here for Team WE, putting anyone's legend in a spot they've rarely found themselves in this split. Down, losing that first opening game. Pretty confident they may have only done this against BLG so far. So this is pretty uncharted territory for anyone's legend. They'll have to find a way to rebound without a coveted Nefiri for Tarzan to cradle onto. Team WE up 1-0. We'll be back after this short break for our Game 2 draft between our last two squads.